This movie had me clutching my pearls and I only wear chains. What up? BSD here coming at you live, and I just saw Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and it was the most gruesome movie I've ever seen. So let's start with the basics. The movie is a reimagining of the original Mummy movie from back in 1932, directed by Karl Freund, starring actor Boris Karloff, born William Henry Pratt. The 1932 film was part of several collections of monster movies put out by Universal Studios, known as Universal Pictures at the time. It told the story of a resurrected Egyptian mummy who dons a more modern appearance in search for the current reincarnation of his deceased lover. So Lee Cronin's movie isn't a reboot per se, it's more of an inspirational work with a whole new tale of its own. So due to the originality of the tale, I gotta give it a solid star. This movie was shot extremely well. Although the story takes place in Egypt and in New Mexico in the United States, most of the shooting took place in Ireland and Spain, leaving the rest of the majority of the film to be shot on a studio stage. The art department was heavily involved in this as well. Not too much CGI was used, and the visual effects brought everything to life, so I have to give this a solid star. The acting was very believable, and a lot of the blocking and direction of the characters were spot on. I like being able to see some Egyptians being casted into the movie, like May Calamaway and May 80. I guess the name May is pretty common amongst Egyptians. However, actress and model Natalie Grace outshined everyone in her performance as Katie. This girl deserves some type of award for either Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress in some ceremony for her portrayal of a tormented girl. So I have to give this a solid star as well. Spoiler alert, while a family of four is expecting their newborn in Egypt, a malevolent family led by a witch is seeking a new vessel for the demonic entity that lays dormant in a tomb under their home. The witch made sure she and her daughter befriended young Katie, who was later kidnapped when the mother was away. The father ran the streets looking for their daughter Katie, and although they went to the police, they were unable to find his missing daughter. 8 years later, the family now lives in New Mexico, and it is seen that the mother had given birth to a daughter, where they currently live in a home with the dad's mother-in-law. Due to a plane crash occurring in Egypt, the authorities and excavation team uncovered Katie, who was still alive in a sarcophagus, where they alerted her parents and they came over to bring Katie home, who is not in the best shape mentally or physically. As the family tries to accommodate Katie with the family, a lot of weird shit starts to happen, and the brother and the younger sister are feeling a bit squeamish and frightened at Katie's behavior, like when she crawls on all fours, or like when she runs in between the walls of the home, or when she eats scorpions. Ugh. Amongst the gore and trying to give this girl a bath and cutting her toenails, the father makes it his mission alongside the policewoman from Egypt who was first assigned to the case years ago to find out what happened to Katie and who abducted her. This involves looking at the pictures of the crime scene and analyzing ripped flesh from Katie, which turns out to be some type of writing, which the dad brings to a college professor who knows about Egyptology in order to decipher the writing. After apologizing to Katie, the dad notices a pattern to Katie's teeth chattering, that it was Morse code, which he taught her when she was a kid, which helped him go into a chest filled with her birthday cards where she found the name of her abductor, that witch named Layla Khalil. As the plot thickens, somehow Katie manages to bewitch her younger sister and cause her grandmother to fall to her death where her insides were being devoured by coyotes. Damn! Hold on. Oh my god. The dad learns from the college professor that the writings on the pictures he was given were spells older than hieroglyphics to keep an ancient demon sealed away. Meanwhile, the policewoman in Egypt finds the location of Layla Khalil, uncovers their tomb, shoots Layla, and brings the daughter into custody, where she presents a VHS tape of Layla involving Katie. The policewoman much later arrives to the family's home in New Mexico taking that red-eye baby, which was after grandma's funeral went to shit, and the father and mother watched the VHS tape, which was a ritual of transferring the demon into Katie to be sealed away in the tomb, which was to be relocated on aircraft by two brothers who were the sons of Layla, but the crash killed them both, resulting in only Layla and her daughter to be the only living members of this scheme. Could you imagine the network that they have? Then Katie's demon bewitches her brother and all hell is let loose in the home, where Grandma's corpse starts to resurrect and Katie is seen flexing her magic powers. In the end, the policewoman recited the spell from the VHS tape even though her throat was punctured by Grandma of the Dead here. And the demon goes into the dad and Katie is back to normal. The dad had to be sealed away in the coffin, but with no real solution, there was only one path of justice left. The policewoman makes arrangements in Egypt at a facility to sneak the mom into Layla's prison cell / insane room from the asylum or whatever to sedate her, where the policewoman wheels in the dad so the demon can be transferred to Layla as payback for Katie. The emotional story focuses on the weaknesses of both the parents, family, and law enforcement in terms of missing children's cases. The police chief in Cairo believed the dad got rid of his daughter, which the dad thought was absurd. Now, there's a blame game as to whose fault it really is. The dad blames himself for not paying closer attention to Katie. The mom blames the dad subtly and believes she alone can take care of Katie, even though facts show differently because of Katie's condition. The demon plays mind games with the brother for not protecting and looking after Katie on that day. The younger sister was the only one innocent, and that innocence was taken advantage of. So really, the emotional story focuses on these inner emotions that families have to go through in such circumstances, and in the end, they understood that it wasn't their fault, but the witches, which was brought to justice. This is a 5-star film, and here's why. Fundamentally, Cronin took a concept that existed for decades and made it into his own story. Although very gory, very, very gory, it served the purpose for the story he wanted to tell. The technical methods used to craft this film go without saying. The acting choices and directions were very believable. The action story gets a solid star because I was very involved in this storyline. How this movie ends is very believable because although the only Catholic / religious person in the home was Grandma to my knowledge, the family's choice of using Layla as the new vessel was spot on, yet it creates an eerie burden as to what the future holds for them. In other words, who's going to guard the tomb of Layla's demonic possession and who would be the next victim? The emotional story is a very interesting way of taking the supernatural and applying a real-world situation in terms of how to keep a family together under such circumstances. If I were the dad, I would have set this whole bitch on fire looking for my daughter. Trust. I would have loved to see more of the events in between Katie's disappearance and the birth of their new daughter to focus on this concept of healing more. Because children and funerals are expensive, but not like the perks and products sold at vsdmerch.com, if you want another example of a great horror film done right, then this next video will go over just that.